I, 37, have two daughters. The eldest, Anna 7-year-old, is technically the child of my late husband and my sister genetically, in that she was carried by a surrogate and made from my late husband's supermarket and my sister's donated egg. My younger daughter, Lily 4-year-old, is adopted. We adopted her a year ago. Originally we had planned on using another of my sister's eggs, but she passed away 3 years ago in a car accident, and I decided it would be disrespectful to use the eggs of hers we had stored without her permission. My husband passed away a little over a month ago from the virus. It has been very hard adjusting to life without him after 12 years together, and the girls miss their dad terribly. I am lucky that my family was well off, and when our parents passed away my sister and I were given nice nest eggs, and I have an excellent job that pays mid-six figures that I thank our lucky stars for every single day. Shortly after my husband's death, his brother and wife reached out to me asking if they could stay with me for a couple of months as brother-in-law had lost his job and they could no longer afford their flat. In addition, their young baby had a bad lung infection that was draining every spare cent they had. My house is only 4 bedrooms, but of course, I let them move in. There were problems from the start. Sister-in-law tried to demand that I and Lily give up our co-joined room so they could have them for the baby. Brother-in-law got nosy about my husband's life insurance and sulked when he found out he wasn't one of the beneficiaries. They both, being vegan, complained about me cooking meat and other animal products. I tried to turn a blind eye knowing that they were probably just stressed and sleep deprived from the baby. The problem came last weekend when they approached me asking for some of my daughter's inheritance. Most of my husband's life insurance went into a college fund for our daughters and they know this, to pay for their son's care. I declined but offered to tap into the nest egg my parents' sister had left me to pay for some of it. They then asked why I couldn't pay for all of it since I was well off, and I gently explained that just because things were okay now, I wanted to plan for worst case not best. They got angry and started yelling, and in front of Lily, they said that really neither of my daughters had any claim to the money since they weren't really my daughters and that I was selfish for not supporting them. I immediately told them to pack and go to their parents. I said they had 24 hours to be out or I would evict them and that I was sick of listening to them complain. They left shortly after, but now I'm being called a terrible person for kicking out a young child and I feel really guilty. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Based upon their logic, they're not your family anymore because your connection with them passed with your husband. You were kind enough to offer them a place to stay because you have a more expansive sense of family than they do. Complaining about a host's dietary habits is effectively complaining about their hospitality. Yeah, I'm looking for a job myself, but just because a person can afford something doesn't mean they should pay for it. Not the idiot at all. Your children are your children. Who else's would they be? Sister-in-law is completely in the wrong for saying that, but especially in front of your kid. Like what the hell? No child needs to hear from another adult that their mom isn't actually their mom. Your daughters don't need to be around anyone who is going to put them down. Your sister-in-law is trying to take advantage of you, and good for you for standing up for your daughters. Are you the idiot? Are you kidding? Definitely not the idiot. Your sister-in-law plus brother-in-law sound like extremely entitled people, and you're a flipping superstar for not kicking them out earlier. Stick to your guns and keep the trash out. At least now you and your daughters, blood and DNA aren't the only things that make a family. Can start your grieving process and remember all the beautiful things about your husband. Those who you matter to. No, you're not a terrible person, and that is all that matters. I am so sorry for the loss of your husband. When my wife and I got married, we were both working. Once our first child was born, she wanted to quit, completely her decision. I started working more to compensate, and she started taking care of the house and the kid. I am a pretty clean person and I help whenever I could or if she asked. I am an involved parent. We had another kid and I started working even more. At the end of 2019, my wife flew to her home country to visit her parents. Airports were shut down and all the flights were cancelled before she could come back. There was a lot of red tapes to unravel here and we couldn't get her back home until May. Like I said, the only reason I didn't do household works was because I was working too much and I discussed that with my wife and she was also okay with taking care of the household. I have lived alone for several years and until she quit her job I always did my share of everything. I am pretty far from helpless. At first, I freaked out a little as I couldn't working from home and I had kids, 7 and 2, to take care of. In the end, I figured it out. I was stretched a little thing, but it was nothing unmanageable. My wife came back home in the beginning of May 2020. She was very happy to be home and we were all happy to have her back. There didn't seem to be any problem. Few weeks ago, we having dinner at our house with one of our couple friends when my wife told them that I was miserable without her, that the kids were miserable, that the house was a disaster, that she had so much stuff to clean up etc. She basically said that I was helpless without her and that I couldn't take care of anything while she was gone. I kinda chuckled awkwardly. I told her that the kids and I were definitely miserable sometimes because we missed her, but nothing other than that was true. I told her not to lie about me or my ability to take care of the kids. After dinner, she was extremely mad at me and told that I was a jerk and that I should have just played along. She told me that she felt awful that I could manage everything without her and she felt that the cat didn't need her and that she was insignificant. I obviously tried to tell her that it wasn't the case, but she kept yelling at me and made me sleep on the couch. Here is the thing. Just because she isn't employed doesn't mean she can't work or doesn't know how to work. Similarly, just because I don't do things now doesn't mean I can't do it. I think it's demeaning to have me pretend that I am a man-child who has to be babied or doesn't know how to do basic things or cannot take care of my own children just so that she can feel better about herself. I don't think it right to portray me as an incompetent person because she feels insecure. However, she is still really upset and I am not so sure anymore. Am I the idiot? Am I the idiot for not going along with the lie? Not the idiot. Your wife wanted to make herself feel better by bringing you down in front of her friends and then expecting you to go along with it. It's not like she discussed this with you before you both had dinner with the friends. She's mad because she got caught in her own lies and it's her own fault. She's being unreasonable and it's not your fault you stepped up even more when she was unavailable. It sounds like she needs to seek help for those insecurities. Not the idiot. I always speak up for my husband and relay all the things he has done for me and for our child. I let people know he is an exceptional father, husband, and helper. Your wife is supposed to be your advocate and she is an idiot majorly for insulting you and trying to pass it off as a cute little man-hating joke. That's just me. I have left at least 3 friend groups in my 5-year marriage because all the women wanted to do was sit around and fuss about their husbands and try to belittle me for refusing to do the same. You deserve better treatment, OP. Not the idiot. People have outlined all the reasons above. The one thing I'll say is that if you actually mention lying in front of your friends, that's a little bit idiot. You could easily say, well, it wasn't quite that bad, we managed okay, but we definitely missed you, which still corrects the story, but doesn't actually publicly call her a liar. So that's the one thing I think you could have done better. But definitely not idiot for correcting the overall story. Background. I adopted my dog, Tank, when I was 20. He had minor issues, leash walking and prey drive. Issues I fixed. This dog is a saint, never bit anyone or shown aggression. He is a very well-trained dog. He's now 5 years and 60 pounds. Now, my boyfriend, 24, and I, 24, live in an apartment with my dog. We moved in together last year, but we've been dating for 4 years. In December, my boyfriend's mom invited herself to come visit in July, provided everything is good by then. Now when she decided this, we were under the impression she would stay at a hotel or something. We live in a small, 2-bedroom apartment, but we use the second room as a shared office space. But whatever, we'll deal. We can throw in a bed and move the room around. But 3 weeks ago, she was talking to my boyfriend saying she would be staying for 2 weeks because she wanted to sightsee, we live in a city, and because she really wanted to be with us. I could tell he was happy about this because he misses her and he doesn't get to see her a lot because we live far away from her. I wasn't going to argue with it, I know it makes him happy. But then she called again last week. And she told my boyfriend she wouldn't feel comfortable if Tank was in the apartment with her because he's big and you can't trust dogs like that. She said she didn't feel comfortable with his size or breed. She said that he could be unpredictable because I got him at a yearish old and don't know about his past. She asked my boyfriend if he would have my dog boarded the whole time while she was here. He brought it up 3 days ago, and I immediately said no. He asked me if I would think about it, and I said I know again. Now he's angry with me. I'm fine with her staying with us. Fine with her staying for 2 weeks. Fine with having to move our office around and buy a bed to accommodate her. I'm fine with her staying here by herself while we're at work. I'm fine with all of that. But I draw the line at leaving Tank at a boarding facility for 2 weeks straight. I've never done something like that with him. I don't want to risk anything. I even looked into it, just at the pricing, and it's too expensive. This is his home, he deserves to stay here. I've never had a problem with her before, but this is ridiculous. She's never met Tank in person before, but she gets a lot of pictures and videos of him. And when we video chat with her, sometimes he joins in. She's never said anything about her concerns before. I feel like she's judging him before she even meets him. He isn't a bad dog. But she doesn't want him at the apartment while he's there at all. Am I the idiot because I won't board Tank while she visits? Not the idiot. Your boyfriend's mom is planning to be a guest in a home where a dog is one of the residents. It is Tank's home. If she feels uncomfortable sleeping in a home with Tank, boyfriend's mom needs to be the one to board herself at a hotel. She doesn't get to demand that Tank leave any more than she gets to demand that you leave. If your boyfriend has a problem with that, he should go stay in the hotel with her. Not the idiot. If she doesn't want the dog there, which is already a huge ask, and out of line, she can at least offer to pay for the boarding. That crap is so expensive, I can only imagine how much it would cost for 2 weeks. If you invite yourself to someone's apartment, that's already kinda rude, but then insist that something that lives there leaves. Nah, that's entitlement. She either needs to put up with the dog being there or find a hotel. Not the idiot. Tank stays home. Also, if I were in your shoes I would be skeptical of leaving him alone with mom. Her baseless opinion of Tank would have me worried how she might treat him when no one is around. I would really try to push for her to get a hotel. With a pandemic situation, perhaps prices for a room might be cheaper than under normal circumstances. Or maybe you have a family member or close friend that can dog sit Tank. I don't like that because it feels like mom won, but if you share my concerns it might be worth it to avoid any bad interactions between the two. My father, 59, and I were never really close in the early stages of my childhood. He was always busy in work and had never taken proper care of me. All of that burden had fallen onto my mother, who did the best she could to put me through school. That all soon went to crap due to information about an affair with another woman, who is his current wife. I have very little memory of my father and I having actual conversations past the age of 12, and I could count on one hand the amount of times he visited me. He has never coddled me in my life and missed all my major life events, graduations, birthdays, and my engagement. Now my father had 2 kids with his now wife, one is 15 and the other is 6. I've met these people only a few times and have exchanged nothing but formalities. Due to prior heart complications and the years taking a toll on him, he's currently at his last moments. I was visiting him in the hospital a week prior and he told me he wished for me to further financially support his family if they were to ever run into hot water. I'm aware that my father had a previous gambling addiction, but I wasn't aware how bad it was. I told him in no such way was I doing that and had previously got a job opportunity out of state that I intended to take. He got angry at me and asked me how I could do that without telling him so he could have time to make arrangements. I would be able to offer them a small sum, but I have my own family now and can't bother to feed 3 more stomachs. I'm being made to be this terrible person by my father's side of the family, as his kids have no choice and that I was essentially hurting them. I've been told that I shouldn't do this out of spite and that I should forgive him in his last days. Yet, I can't help it, I want things to go back to when I would just choose to ignore him. I know I won't regret it, but I need to know if I'm in the wrong. Would I be the idiot if I refuse to be a bank account to my dying father's other family? Not the idiot. No way should you feel you have to support your father's other family. The burden of supporting 3 more people on top of your own family is a huge thing to ask, but also highly inappropriate given that he left your family for that woman. If your father's side of the family feels so strongly, then I would suggest to them that they offer some monetary support to the family, watch their attitudes change in a matter of seconds. Not the idiot. You're his kid too, and you had no choice either. These people are just as insane as your father, you're not hurting anyone. You have absolutely no responsibility for your father gambling his money away and leaving his new family unsupported. Having you as his secret backup plan is outright vicious and dumb at the same time. How would this ever work outside of his deluded mind? His side of the family can come up for his children, don't give them a dime. Not the idiot at all. He has no right to ask or expect this of you, let alone make you feel guilty about it. He left his dying wish to support a family he, or their mother, should have been supporting to the last minute, not you. You have nothing to feel guilty about. As you said, you have your own family. He has been a crappy dad and now expects you to sacrifice your own family and money to bail him out for continuing to be a crappy dad or provider. Jog on, mate. You're fine. No guilt. We are getting married in July of this year, the venue is booked and the wedding is pretty much sorted. Emma has been researching dresses and has a little scrapbook of lots of dresses she likes for ideas, but is now looking to buy. All that's left to get is the bridesmaid dresses and her wedding dress. We jointly put aside $10,000 each for the wedding, everything is paid, and we have $6,000 left over which I think could go towards the honeymoon on top of the honeymoon fund we already had. We aren't the extravagant type at all, then comes the time for Emma to pick her dress. I know everything is more expensive when it has the term wedding attached to it, what I wasn't expecting was a $950 dress plus $120 veil. I'm using my dad's old tux he used for his wedding to my mom, just had it taken in a little. Emma can't use her mum's dress as her, and her mum both say the style hasn't aged well, which is fair. I had a quick Google around at dresses online and there were so many, and so many just like the one Emma wants for like $50 to $100. I'm not trying to get her to cheap out on her dress, but she will literally wear it once. One dress for over $1,000 is just insane, that would fund our honeymoon. I tried to show her some dresses I found on a recommended app called Wish and others on websites, but she was having none of it. She is very slender, but apparently wants it specially fitted. It turned nasty unfortunately, because I said I refused to drop such a large amount of money on a dress, and she argued that she is using her own money for the dress. Which isn't strictly true as we ain't about to marry, and our finances will be joined. Then her mom had to get involved, they offered to pay for the dress, but it's not a case of not being able to afford it. It's a dress, there are identical ones online at a fraction of the cost. I thought she would be ecstatic to learn there are identical dresses for a fraction of the cost, but she was really angry and upset. Am I the idiot here? Is there something I am seriously missing? Because after we argued about the dress, Emma has been extremely cold towards me. Then yesterday she said, if I want her to cheap out on her wedding dress on her wedding day, that she needs to really consider if we are a good match for marriage. I'm blown away that she would say that over a dress. I told her she's like a toddler throwing a tantrum over a sparkly toy she can't have. That was a mistake as she left to stay with her parents, who called to tell me I am much more than an idiot. Am I the idiot here? You're the idiot. You say you don't want her to cheap out, but then you say you want her to buy a $50 or $100 wedding dress. That's cheap. That's cheap even for a regular dress. Those cheap dresses you're finding online will look terrible in person and are the source of so many disappointed women and jokes. Wedding dresses and their tailoring are expensive. $1,000 is actually a low-priced dress. Regardless of dress type, though, your reaction to her, calling her names, and deciding you have veto power is the real problem. You should be solving this issue together. If you can't, maybe it's not time to get married yet. OP is such a predictable type of person. Of course, he'd play victim now that it seems like she broke up with him. You showed her your true self, man, and it's ugly. You are not in any way, shape, or form the victim here. The real victim came to her senses and thankfully cut you off. If this isn't a troll post, you need to do some serious introspection instead of blaming everyone else around you. Don't blame the mob mentality when only you are at fault for ruining your engagement and future wedding.